Another episode of Kraken Takeaways brought to you by Sound of Hockey. Darren Brown here, along with John Barr. John, the Kraken are still alive, and I think this little video I put together of you from Game 3 pretty much sums up the John Barr cheering experience at Climate Pledge Arena. So this is pretty cool. I know they had you on Quest for the Cup on ESPN, but I took all your best highlights and put them in a little video for you there. I thought you'd appreciate that. So.
That's my natural habitat at Climate Pledge. Pretty fun experience. And the fact that they scored a bunch of goals was like incredible. So it was, but that's how I was in Game 6. I'll tell you the same way, right? Just going ballistic. So it was awesome.
Yeah. What an experience it was. And, as a result, the Kraken are staying alive. So, man, they get their backs up against the wall and you think this could be it. This could be the last time that we get to see them play. And they go out and they're just very impressive from the jump. I thought there were some hairy moments, certainly not exactly a perfect performance, but man, they came out with a lot of energy in the first. They showed that they were not ready to have their season end in Game 6.
Yeah, it was incredible. And, I wouldn't say I was lowering expectations going into Game 6, but after losing the previous two in Dallas kind of convincingly won, it was hard to get too optimistic. Now I'm always hopeful. But I also wasn't ready for the season to end. And, I just didn't want to go out like that. And what a journey, right? Even if it ends at Game 7, what an amazing performance by the Kraken to put themselves in the position one game away from the conference final. And that's incredible to hear out loud.
It's a little bit defeatist to think if they lose in Game 7, then that's all right. It's been a great ride. But if they had lost in Game 6, I think that would have felt a little bit like a fizzle, right? Because they were in a good spot in this series. Right. To have gone out with 3 consecutive losses, that would have been like, all right, we just
totally agree.
After this incredible run through round 1, losing at home in Game 6 would have felt like a little bit of a letdown. So I'm pumped that they got to Game 7 here. And now to your point, right? I mean, it's anybody's guess what's going to happen in Game 7. They might win, they might lose. Obviously, we're going to be on top of the world if they win. If not, we should feel pretty good about this run from the Kraken. It's been awesome. As we mentioned, it wasn't a perfect game by any means. They had some response goals against. They had a pretty sloppy third period. I think there are actually 3 goals that I don't know how you define a response goal, but 3 goals that were within 2 minutes of the Kraken scoring in Game 6. So that's been something that's kind of plagued them all season. And, it can really just suck the momentum and the energy out of the building very quickly after it's so hard to score goals in the playoffs, right? So you get a goal, the building's jumping, going nuts. And then all of a sudden you give it right back. And it's like, oh, crap. And they did that 3 different times last night. But thankfully they overcame that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's nothing like hearing the goal scoring announcement for the Kraken and then seeing Dallas score a goal. Right.
Yeah.
And the first one was absolutely brutal. It was like it must've been within 15 seconds. Yeah. So it just felt like, wait a second. Did they really? Cause it was like, oh, we broke through, and even Matty's goal, when Matty scored, it was like, oh, that's the buffer, right? The anxiety buffer that I enjoy. Yeah. And I'm like feeling really good. And then they get kind of an ugly goal, right? Bounces off. I think it bounced off somebody's shin pad or Delandria's shin pad. I don't know who put that one in, but
it was like Marchman, I think, the 2-on-1, right?
Of course,
the game.
A favorite player on Dallas. Yeah. So anyway, it was 6-3, right? But it did not feel that convincing of a win, right? It felt good. Yeah. And I thought the Kraken were the better team, to be perfectly fair. And then
100%. Yeah.
The third period was just, oh my gosh.
Scary. Well, the start of it, right? And the way they came out, and here's my take on it, and I could be totally wrong, but they talk so much about playing on their toes, and they've talked about that a lot. And I think where they tend to falter in third periods when, during the season when they've had late comebacks against them, it's because they've sat back and played on their heels and tried to defend their way to victory. Okay. It almost felt to me like they were overcorrecting last night. Like they were like, all right, we're going to go out and continue playing offense and we're going to go take it to them. We're going to get one more goal. Instead, they came out and they're totally stretched all throughout the ice. They've got holes all over the place. Odd man rushes, 30 seconds in. Pavelski and Heiskanen come in on a 2-on-1. Pavelski hits the post. It skips behind Grubauer, hits Heiskanen, skips behind Grubauer again, and goes out the other way. And how that didn't go in the net, I have no idea. And then 2 minutes later, Robertson hits the post as well. And you're like, oh my God. I asked Yanni Gord about that after the game, and he said that they just needed to take a breather. They felt like they needed a shift in the offensive zone. They got a face off. They won a face off. They went and played in the offensive zone, got a shot on, and that settled everybody down. They're like, all right, we're good now. We just got to reset here. So, man, it was a hairy few minutes for sure. To your point, Beniers gets that goal that you think is going to be absolutely the dagger, because now it's 5-2, and they score again. I think that one was like 16 seconds. Like, it was so fast. It was just ridiculous. So they overcame all that though, and as you said, they were the better team. They deserved to win.
Yeah. And it's just kind of one of those things where you're just like, just weather the storm, right? Just weather it. Cause it felt like it was just a matter of a moment where Dallas was going to score. And then who knows what kind of like approach the Kraken have. But, it's funny. You talked to Yanni Gord about needing that face off or that offensive zone, that breather.
Mm-hmm.
I think what created the face off was like a really far out shot, like a shot from the blue line, just to get it on net with no real chance of it going in, because there was no traffic, nobody. But I remember seeing that, and at the time Wedgwood was in net and he covered it, and it's like, okay, that's what they needed, just a reset face off in that zone. They needed that for sure. And so it's funny to hear Yanni Gord say that, because sometimes I don't know if, I'm just being a fan, like some weird narrative that I come up with in my mind, but it was I remember that specifically, and it all settled down from there. Not overwhelmingly Kraken the rest of the way, but it was a little bit more even of a third after that.
Yeah, and they were making more responsible decisions, it seemed, after that. It almost was like they were playing like run and gun for some reason to start the third period, and they weren't handling the puck very well. They were playing hot potato. So let's talk about the kids, Matty Beniers and Tye Kartye, and I think we should probably loop Eeli Tolvanen in there as well, because he's 24, but I mean, he's kind of in that realm. As I said in my 3 takeaways post, he too is not old enough to rent a car. So I think we can loop them all in as kids. Man, all 3 had huge performances last night. Tye Kartye continues to be physical. And what I thought was really interesting was they did shuffle up the lines on this one. They got Jared McCann back into a top 6 spot, but they didn't put him with Beniers and Eberle. They kept Kartye with Beniers and Eberle and moved Geekie down, which I thought was fascinating, right? It's such a testament to how well Tye Kartye has played since he got called up to replace Jared McCann in the lineup after McCann got hurt. And Kartye comes out, he scores another goal where he looks off Jordan Eberle on a 2-on-1 and just rifles it past Oettinger. Man, awesome performance. Beniers scores a big goal, also had an assist on the Kartye goal, and then Tolvanen had a goal and 2 assists. Finished a beautiful play by, I think it was Gord, did a button hook, passed it to Oliver Bjorkstrand. Bjorkstrand got it to Tolvanen, and Tolvanen knocked it in. You're
giving me chills just talking about those, because all 3 goals were incredible moments too, right? Totally. Incredible, critical. What also, away from the puck, Kartye laid some big hits. He laid one big hit that was just
Ryan Suter. He knocked 38-year-old Ryan Suter right on his ass. It was awesome.
Yeah, and Suter's just like pissing me off this playoff, and so it was just, it got the crowd going. I think it got the boys going. It was pretty incredible. Really excited about the play of all 3 of those guys, and even Bjorkstrand, the way he set up the Tolvanen goal was like, because he was in the slot and you thought he was going to go backhand shot, and he just like slides it over to Tolvanen, who's got a wide open cage, right? So it was awesome.
Still not an easy shot though. Like he's at a bad angle there,
But he's a goal scorer, right? Yeah. And all really, Kartye and Tolvanen, they shoot first, right? Which is pretty awesome.
100%. The cool thing is, like, you think about the stories of these 3 guys, right? Like, I mean, Beniers obviously number 2 overall pick, likely to win the Calder Trophy. That's great. But then you have Kartye, who was in juniors last year, didn't play in the NHL all season long, gets called up in the playoffs after surprising everybody. He didn't get drafted, right? He gets signed to a free agent deal. comes up to the AHL, surprises everybody, wins AHL Rookie of the Year. And now he's just fit right in on the top line for the Seattle Kraken in the playoffs. And he's been a huge piece of the success. And then you have Eeli Tolvanen, who got waived by the Predators, scored, I think, 4 points in his like first half of the season, gets scratched for 2 weeks by the Kraken. They finally put him in the lineup on January 1st. And it's just been like a rocket ship straight up for him ever since. It's just nuts. I mean, these three guys, and it was so cool to see them all contribute in one game last night. Another big thing last night, the power play looked a lot better. One thing I noticed, John, and I don't know if you noticed this too, but you know, when they bring the puck through the neutral zone, they usually do those like deep drop passes, the slingshot play. Yeah. They didn't seem to do that last night. They were just kind of taking whatever lane was being given to them, and it was working. They were getting very clean zone entries. They were winning faceoffs also. They were getting set up in the zone. They had a lot of player movement. It just looked very different. And they did get a power play goal last night from Jordan Eberle. But the crazy thing about that adjustment to the power play, at least in my eyes, if they actually did adjust something there and, you know, talked about it, they didn't practice that. They didn't practice between the two games. They had no morning skate. They had no off day practice. So like, how do they implement changes like that to their whole like tactical approach without even practicing it on the ice? It's remarkable to me.
Well, it seems like in the first couple games that I noticed Dallas was countering that pretty well, right? Mm-hmm. They were like essentially playing for that slingshot pass back. And so that counter means that there's somebody else not playing along the blue line, right? That they're not backing up. And so I think that's what they finally realized. And maybe it was just like, hey, don't force the slingshot every time, right? So it should be an option in that same power play setup, and gaining the zone. And so I think that's kind of what went into it. I don't know, right? I'm not in the room, obviously, but it seemed like Dallas was really good at countering that in the first couple games. And so then the Kraken be able to counter the counter, and all of a sudden you have a good zone entries.
Yeah. They don't know that we know that they're countering the counter.
Yeah. They don't know, but they know. Yeah.
Yeah. Another piece of it too, and he didn't score last night, but Jared McCann looked like his old self on the power play. He was up at the, top of the left circle, right where we saw him all season doing his little loop around and shoot thing. And he looked very, very dangerous, which I thought was good to see. So big things there. I mean, that's a huge improvement from one game to the next. And here's hoping that it sticks for game 7. We're playing another game 7 we're recording this on Sunday afternoon. So a little more than 24 hours, John, maybe about 27 hours or so. We're going to be playing another game 7. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I asked for it. I wanted it. So I'll have to live with the consequences of my actions. So I mean, I am so excited, and they have a good shot of winning, right? That's all I'll say. And I'm hopeful. I'm excited. I think it'll add to the lore one way or the other of the Kraken this season. And what an incredible opportunity they have in front of them. So very excited to see it. And they've gone through a game 7, and they look good in that game 7. So man, I don't know if I can handle it. My heart can handle it, but we'll see.
All right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Here we go. We're doing it again. For Sound of Hockey, Darren Brown and John Barr, we will talk to you all very soon for another episode of Kraken Takeaways. Thanks for watching, everybody.